Hello out there. We're on the air. Arnie just left. He was here. I thought he was going to hang out for a show today. Thanks a lot, Art. See you later, I guess. You might be back. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. It's a beautiful day here. This is about the third or fourth beautiful day. Oh, there's Arn. Oh, he's gone. It's good. We had a couple weeks of absolute dog shit weather. Cold, rainy. Not bad, but just not summer. So it feels like summer again. We got, like I said, 3 or 4 days, about 22, 23. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. That's Celsius. All right, it's Tuesday. Tuesdays are historically our least favorite day of the week. But I feel like today's going to be an exception to that. I think we're going to have a good day today. We got a good show. The show is titled 8 Things to Do Before 2025. We got about 4.5 months left. So I got a list here. It's actually more than 8. But figured people could use it. I'm sure people have already done some of these. But I think just doing some of these will put you in a much better place heading into the new year. So that's what we're going to do today. It is the daily Bitcoin journey. I want to give a shout out to everybody on NOSTR today. I forgot to post this on NOSTR, but I've been making a post every morning asking people what we should talk about on the show today. And yesterday was the first time I did it. We got a couple responses, a couple good ones. But then today we had like 10 responses. So I think I'm going to start doing that every day because find out what people want to hear about. I think that's pretty important. So this is the daily Bitcoin journey. It is actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. That's the focus here. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of things here. I have to keep in mind that there's some new Bitcoiners always joining the chat here, always joining the show and watching. So I got a bit of a plan in place for the next, like I said, 4 months to cater to the newer Bitcoiners out there. So if you are a new Bitcoiner, just stay patient. I'm going to start doing either every 2 weeks or every month, but I'm thinking 2 weeks just to make sure we can cover everything. Let me just send this out to NOSTR. See you on Zapstream. And I just figured out that I was talking about on the Android, it has a little clipboard there where it saves all your copy and paste. Is that how you say it? All your information that you copied. And I figured out how to pin some, so I can pin this one now right to the top. All right, there we go. Okay, welcome everybody on YouTube. I see some faces in the chat this morning. I see some people over in Zapdos stream as well. I see Letha over there who zapped 1,000 sats. Why do we not like Tuesdays? It's a good question. And I usually say that I don't like Tuesdays, but I never really explain why. But the reason, I don't know. It's just a weird day in the week. I don't know why. Always hated Tuesdays. Mondays are like a fresh start. Mondays remind me of like a New Year's Day. Like it's a fresh start to the week. You can set some things you want to do. You got a blank slate in front of you. So Mondays I like. Tuesdays, they're just kind of blah. They're a hangover from Monday, the excitement. And then Wednesday fires up and it's hump day all of a sudden. And we're headed back towards the weekend. And then, this was a lot more relevant when I was at work, 9-to-5 job. Doesn't really affect me too much anymore. So I still kind of have that lingering in my head. Let's just pretend we love Tuesdays instead. I like that. So we love Tuesdays, but thank you to Letha for making Tuesdays a little bit better with a zap. All right, where should we begin today? I see Timber Crasher over in YouTube. It's a good reminder. Timber Crasher is one of our Bitcoin journeymen. That's a new tier that we have now on the YouTube channel. Something new, a very reasonably priced way to get into the private, not really private shows. I don't know how to explain it. As a Bitcoin journeyman, you can go there right now. You can go to the page. You can click join. $3 Canadian per month, but that's going to give you access to every single show, full, uninterrupted. I post a link on the feed every morning for all the Bitcoin journeymen, and they can use that link to go to the full video. Like I said, no ads. So it's kind of like a cheaper alternative to YouTube Premium. If you don't like the ads and you like watching the show, then it's about a quarter of the price this way. And you get some other cool things. I set up some badges too. I'm sure there's some nerds in here, but I set up some badges so I'll be able to tell how long you've been a Bitcoin journeyman for. So it's 1 month, 2 month, 3, 6, and a year. I think I set up badges for. Alpha Omega. What's going on, everyone? It's a good question. What is going on? Who listened to Trump and Elon talk last night? It was a good one. I listened to part of it. Two of my favorite guys. I mean, I'm still kind of unsure about Elon, to be honest with you. I feel like he's on the side of good. I feel that. But there's also some things that make me question that. But it was awesome. I like that. And I think that was kind of the point of what they were hoping to accomplish there last night, was just to have a conversation. Because I've seen lots of interviews with Trump, the town halls that they do, the reporters on Fox News, they all try to get him. That's what their main goal of every interview with Trump is. They're trying to get him. They're trying to make him say something that they can clip and go viral and make Trump look stupid. That's their whole goal with everything. They don't actually want to inform people about what Trump wants to do. Their entire goal is to try to create one clip, one soundbite that they can use. So they ask all these questions, these prying questions, like worded in a different way to try to like get under his skin a little bit. But this was just a conversation. And like I said, I haven't listened to all of it yet. I might if it's available somewhere. I listened to enough of Trump's speeches and rallies and all that kind of stuff. I know what he's all about. But it was cool because it sounded like they were just having a conversation. And that's not the side of Trump that we ever get to see. So like I said, it didn't do a whole lot for me, but it sounds like people enjoyed it. The one thing you got to keep in mind there, and I think I posted about this last night, but with Trump, like he could talk for 2 hours. And within that 2 hours, he says a lot of stuff, repeats himself a lot, trashes other people, which I like. I find Trump hilarious. That's why I first started liking him before I knew any of his actual policies and intentions in office. But I just really appreciate the fact that he spoke his mind and he's funny. I like when he calls people nicknames and losers, because they are, and people need to hear that and say it. Like, we just live in such a bubble world right now. It's refreshing to hear, I guess I'll say. But within that 2 hours that he speaks, there's usually a couple nuggets that you can pull out of it, and in his longer, almost encrypted messages that he wants to spread there. So in order to really appreciate a Trump speech, you have to know what he's saying and what it means, I guess. If you just take everything like as it comes, if you just read the script of it, you might think he's kind of a whack job. But if you actually pay attention to what he's saying and understand it, they're a lot more interesting. But that only comes through listening to a lot of Trump stuff. Here's a question from Alpha X Omega. With all the rich people hoarding Bitcoin, do you think a millionaire is going to be considered middle class in the future? I know they say Michael Saylor will be the world's first trillionaire. I don't know how many rich people are actually hoarding Bitcoin, to be honest with you. I think that there's a percentage of them for sure. I just don't think it's a large amount. None of the rich people that I know hold any Bitcoin, or that I'm aware of anyways. The funny thing about Bitcoin, and that I've noticed in the last couple of years, is that just because there is such like a negative connotation and within society around Bitcoin, that a lot of rich people, they don't really tell anybody that they have Bitcoin. I talked to a couple people, I think it was last year, but this is a kind of familiar story. I've seen it a few times. But people that I never would have expected to own Bitcoin or even know anything about Bitcoin, when it comes up in conversation, you have to pry a little bit. But I found out that they've actually been mining Bitcoin for like 4 or 5 years. Rich people, very well-respected people within the community, were mining Bitcoin. for longer than I've been in Bitcoin. And that was a real shock to me. But at the same time, it really makes sense because one, the negative connotation around it, I think that's part of it. But the other part too is that that's just a rich person technique. They don't tell anybody what they're doing. They do it and then they talk about it, maybe if they want to. But they're not like, hey, I found this new stock, everybody go buy it. They buy it first and then they let it play out. It's exactly what BlackRock did with Bitcoin. We watched a video on BlackRock's Bitcoin journey yesterday on the second part of the show. And the guy was talking about how he was hired back in 2018 at BlackRock to dive into the Bitcoin thing in 2018. And it was in his 2021 when Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, came out and was bashing Bitcoin. So just think about that timeline there. 2018, BlackRock hires a Bitcoin person, a team, to start getting into Bitcoin. And in 2021, 3 years later, the figurehead of BlackRock comes out and says that it's not worth anything, talking very negatively about it. So that's just how rich people roll. It's smart, honestly. I don't have that ability for myself, but I find something I have to text 10 of my friends to tell them about it. But it's different. It's different. Because to me, it's like, if you're going to be rich, I feel like you want all your friends and your family to be rich. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a whole lot of fun. So I do think that there's going to be a lot of new millionaires created from Bitcoin, just to answer your question there a little bit. And I really don't think it's going to take that much. I think that's what people get wrong right now most, is that they think that they're going to have one full Bitcoin, one whole coin in order to have wealth in the future. And I think it's going to be closer to like 1 million sats. I think that that's what everybody should be trying to get towards, 1 million sats. Because you have to keep in mind here that every single person, every single company, every single country, and every AI on Earth is going to want Bitcoin. And we cannot create more Bitcoin. There's only so much of it. So, I mean, you don't have to do any specific math. You just can use logic and do quick math in your head to figure out how much one sat's going to be worth. So I really think that people should just be striving to start to get to 1 million sats. And in Canada right now, that's about $800. And I think in the US, it's about $550 or $600 to change your family's future, change your entire direction of it, just with that small of an investment. And do you know what people spend $600 on nowadays? I was at my grandma's yesterday, and I shouldn't, release any. I love my grandma though. She's hilarious. I had a whiskey with her at happy hour yesterday, and she's going for surgery today for her tooth. And she was telling me how much it was going to cost. And she said, well, it's not the cost I'm worried about. She's been kind of an entrepreneur her whole life. She's been a caterer. And she's like, I think she's in her mid 80s. And she probably works harder than most people my age. Still, she doesn't see very well. She had some issues with her eyes a couple of years ago. But she's like, I don't really care about the cost. I just want to get it done. I'll be making pierogies for the next 20 years anyways. She's in her mid 80s right now and still just going not full bore, but anyways, she said last year she worked like she was 50 years old again. But where was I going with that? What were we talking about? I don't even know. So shout out to my grandma anyways. What were we talking about there? Rich, $600. That's what it was. She got a magnifying glass so she can read text better. And it cost her $600. Like you go for supper now with your family or another family too, and you pay for it. It's $600. So I just think that most people are really underestimating how much Bitcoin they actually need to make a dent in the future. It's not that much. I think if you can get to 1 million sats at this stage, and you have to keep in mind here, and this is maybe a part of, I'll add this to my goal here, because you have to keep in mind here that the time is ticking. we're moving into the Bitcoin bull run. It's coming this fall. And I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of like the landscape of the world. But there's a pretty good chance that we're going into a Bitcoin bull run. And so I think that this is going to be the last couple months here where we can actually buy Bitcoin for under $100,000. And if you actually sit down and look at the difference between buying $1,000 worth of Bitcoin at 60,000 versus $1,000 at 100,000 or 120,000, like you can see how much less Bitcoin we're going to be able to get for fiat in the very near future. So we just added that to the goals for 2024. I see Majory. Major? Is it Majory or Major? Major doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Majory, but that's also not really a name. Major. We'll go in Major. Good morning over on Zap.stream. All right, there's a lot of comments here, and I'm sorry I'm kind of falling a little bit behind. I'll give a couple shout outs here. We got HFLM. The future is bright. Happy Tuesday, Bitcoiners. Very bright. The future is very, very bright, especially if you're here right now. But even if you're not, this is another thing I think a lot of people get wrong. Even the people who aren't here right now, even people who won't buy Bitcoin for the next 5 years, their future is still bright. Because we're moving into a world where we're going to have an asset like Bitcoin that's backing everything. When you have something that's fixed, and that's what you're valuing the world on, that's how you're keeping track of your productivity with a fixed currency, a fixed asset, everything changes for everybody. Rock and roll. Good morning, wonderful Bitcoiners. Keep chasing excellence. That's great. Great advice. Major. We're going Major. I like Major better. Sounds official. Cold Deck. Good morning, Rick. Great day to smash the like. It is. Every day is a great day, but today especially, we could use it. Let's see how we're doing in the like department. Take this time as we check to simply, very simply, press the button. Or else. Okay, what do we got here? We got 30 people watching, and we got 10. What? That's a new low. That's an all-time ATL, all-time low. Sad. Silver Fox. Good morning, my friend Lucas. Diego. Cold Deck says, red, blue, doesn't matter. The financial system is done. Neither side can fix it. It's all gaslighting. 100%. 100% accuracy there. We're not going to say that one on the air for fear of YouTube shutting us down. Power law theory. Is that the new one? Instead of power law now, it's theory. Power law theory says we won't hit 100K until 2026. I would disagree with that. Bitcoin journey law theory says we definitely will. And I think it'll be probably 5x that before 2026. Nobody understands what's happening here. No power law either. The power law doesn't take into effect how much capital is going to be pouring into Bitcoin in the next 12 months. Didn't Larry Fink say Bitcoin was worse than rat poison? I think that was the old dude there, Buffett, the buffet. Bet that was the meanwhile. But Larry Fink definitely was negative around Bitcoin in 2021. So his team behind the scenes, his company, was hiring a Bitcoin team, getting ready for what's coming here in 2018 or 2017. And then 4 years later, he comes out and said he doesn't like Bitcoin. And then 2 years after that, they hold 2% of the Bitcoin. So don't trust these morons. Trust yourself. That's it. Okay, Django, good morning. Another Bitcoin journeyman. Oh, LVO. All right, let's get going here. Let's get going. It's enough It's enough shout outs for today. All right. We are currently at block height 856,599. 856,599 Bitcoin blocks have been mined since January the 3rd, 2009. That's incredible. How many transactions do you think that is? Let's do some quick math here, although it's hard because in the early days, I know that the blocks weren't full. So that wouldn't be a very good calculation. But Spider Pool was the winner of the last one. Good to see, I think. I don't know. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about mining today before we get to the goals for 2024. So only 5 million sats there in fees. The fees are 4 sats per VByte right now. Two sats per VByte. Total fees on that one, 3 million sats. Oh, they had almost 5,000 transactions in there. That's the lowest I've seen. 3 million. Oh, that'd be, I mean, it's still good. You're hitting the block for 3 Bitcoin, but that's a tough. I'm seeing all the miners' revenues were way down in the last couple months because of the fees. So great for us, great for Bitcoiners, but horrible for the miners. What is even the price today? What is the price of one Bitty? $59,000. All right. I hate 58,000. I feel like that's just a cursed number. We'll blow by it though. We'll get to a point soon where we'll never even think of coming back to 59,000 or 58,000 again. All right, what else do we have? We got some things to watch today. No, not really watch. We'll start with this one. Speaking of the ETF, speaking of the big capital, this is very, very bullish for Bitcoin. And this is why I'm so adamant on we're not going to wait until 2026 to hit 100K. That's going to be a long forgotten joke by that time. All right, so this is from Bitcoin News, sponsor of the show. We got to do the Bitcoin well after this too. Don't let me forget. Bitcoin News, Yahoo. Oh, Yahoo, very trustworthy people, Yahoo Finance. But the information here is good. The people who have been investing in the Bitcoin ETFs, for lack of a better term, have diamond hands. I don't know that I would call it diamond hands, but this is still a pretty strong indication here.
I want to talk about ETF flows real quickly, and that's because even though we saw some flows out of ETFs last Friday, I was tracking the Thursday to Thursday flows, and despite all of this pressure, all the selling and all the volatility that we've seen over the last month, we're still seeing inflows into the ETFs, and I think that's a positive story. You take out those 2 grayscale ETFs, so spot Bitcoin and spot Ether ETFs that have higher fees, we actually had additions of about $250 to $300 million in those ETFs from Thursday to Thursday. So on that front, it looks like the new people who are investing in these ETFs, for lack of a better term, they have diamond hands. Also want to consider that the dollar is up today. So we're seeing not only Bitcoin, a little bit of a weakness in Bitcoin, but we're seeing some strength in the dollar. And interestingly, we're also seeing record highs in gold. So maybe something's underfoot there, something we'll be tracking in the hours and days to come. Guys, I want to...
Wait, what? Hold on. Let me watch that again. Uh-oh, our internet's fading here. Too much Yahoo. All right, let me watch that again. I want to rehear that part.
Also want to consider that the dollar is up today. So we're seeing not only Bitcoin, a little bit of a weakness in Bitcoin, but we're seeing some strength in the dollar. And interestingly, we're also seeing record highs in gold. So maybe something's underfoot there, something we'll be tracking in the...
Okay, let me think about that. So he just told us that for the week, when we saw Bitcoin go down 25%, and the ETF holders, a net inflows of $300 million. And he's somehow telling us that there's weakness in Bitcoin. How does that work? I feel like that's very, very positive for Bitcoin, not weakness. Anyways, so that's good news. Like I said, we watched the video yesterday on BlackRock. BlackRock's Bitcoin journey was very interesting. So if you're a Bitcoin journeyman or somebody who is in the living in the future community, you can go back and watch that video yesterday. We sped it up a bit. We had some good conversations about BlackRock. It was interesting. They had one of their employees there from 2018. He was talking about how BlackRock went from where they were when he started to today. He was talking about his conversations with financial advisors and how much they plan on allocating to Bitcoin ETF. And he talked about how there's 3 different types of investors here. And I forget what he used, but the second 2, he said that it's going to be a much longer journey for them. And one of them was the advisors, the financial advisors to get there. And the other one was institutions like the big money, like Morgan Stanley, like who else did he say? The big banks. He said it's going to be a much longer journey for them to actually be able to access the Bitcoin ETF. There's a lot of things within their corporate structure that don't allow them to hold ETFs. But the point of that, one of the main things that he talked about was that in 6 months, BlackRock, through everything we've seen in the last 6 months, BlackRock has had one day. It's actually 7 months or 8 months now almost, but they've had one single day where they had net outflows. And I don't really care if you like it or you hate it. That does not matter. It's not really up to you, and you have no ability to change it. But the fact that the biggest institution, the biggest company on earth, has been buying Bitcoin for 8 months straight, and they've had one day where they've had negative outflows. Just like to me, there's absolutely no reason why every single financial advisor on the planet, when you see that, forget everything else. Forget the technology, forget the fixed supply, forget the banking for everybody, forget everything else involved with Bitcoin. The fact that BlackRock, the biggest company on earth, has accumulated 2% of the total supply, and in 8 months, they've had one single day where they had negative outflows. Any financial advisor who sees that and does not recommend their clients hold some Bitcoin should be sued to oblivion for that. I don't care. I don't say what you want. Come after me. I don't really care. It's just insane that these people who are responsible for their clients' wealth, all the energy, all the time they put into their whole life, they trust with the financial advisor. And I get it that some can't actually do it. He talked about the solicited versus unsolicited Bitcoin availability, but it's wild to me. What else did we have here? Exactly. Numbers do not lie. You cannot disagree with that. You cannot object to the fact that the biggest company on the planet has been buying Bitcoin every single day for 8 months, and they've had one day with net outflows. Crazy. Good morning, family. Mowing for sats today. Love that. What a great way to earn some sats. And the thing about that is you don't even have to charge in Bitcoin. Just like if you like cutting grass, if you got a good mower, put some flyers around town and just say, I'll cut your grass. Get like 5 or 6 clients, do it on Saturday mornings, and put all of that cash into Bitcoin. Change your life. Easiest way. That I could sell that course for $1,000 people. Easiest way to change your life. Or something similar to that. If you got a pressure washer, a really good pressure washer, put up some flyers around town, set up a Facebook page, look for 5 or 6 clients. You don't have to make it your full-time job, but do it some nights a week and put all of that money into Bitcoin, at least for the next 12 months. And then maybe next year you hire a summer student to do it for you. And then you sink the profits into Bitcoin. There's Arn. Arnie's in the house. All right. That's good news. He's back. He's interested. He must have known that we were going to be talking about Marathon today. So Marathon, probably not our favorite company. And we've talked about that the last little while here. But this is pretty big. What the heck's going on here? There we go. Just in from Bitcoin News. Oh, we didn't do the Bitcoin well yet. Fuck. Get too much in these shows nowadays. Bitcoin News. Just in, Marathon plans to sell 250 million in convertible debt notes to buy more Bitcoin for the treasury, according to CEO Fred Thiel. So Marathon is a Bitcoin miner. They're a mining company. That's what they do. That's where their efforts are. But you can see here that they're taking a page out of MicroStrategy playbook and offering convertible notes to buy more Bitcoin for the treasury, which I think is brilliant. I think it's brilliant. And we're going to just put this on pause for a second. We're going to look at the updated version of this, which is also from Bitcoin News. Marathon's 250 million convertible note offering intended to fund additional Bitcoin purchases has been oversubscribed and increased by an additional $50 million. So they went from 250, they oversold it. Now they're doing 300 million worth of Bitcoin to put on their treasury. Are things working here? Looks like my internet. Oh, there we go. So Marathon, smart. Why are they doing this right now? Well, to me, I don't think they're going to change their whole business model to be like a MicroStrategy. That doesn't make any sense. They have all this infrastructure in place. They have all these electricity contracts, energy contracts. This is a smart move for Marathon. And the reason why this is smart is because they know what's coming here. They know what's coming in the next 12 months. They're not idiots. They've suffered through the last 4 years of mining, and they know that any sort of Bitcoin on their balance sheet right now is going to be worth a hell of a lot more in a year from now. They know that. They're not dummies. They're in deeper than most within Bitcoin here. And so what this allows for is that with these different mining pools, Marathon is a mining pool. And so you can plug into the mining pools. And one of the major concerns that Bitcoiners have had for the last couple months is the centralization of mining pools. And the reason why some of these mining pools like Ant Pool, F2 Pool, who else was on there? Foundry. The reason why a lot of these mining companies have been able to, or have been forced essentially to centralize, is because they don't have enough Bitcoin in their balance sheet. So how a lot of these pools work. Let's just take a little break here because this is kind of difficult to explain and understand, I think, if I don't do it properly. So these mining pools, when you hook up to a mining pool, you essentially have two options, and I forget what they're called. They're two acronyms. But one of them, and we'll use Ocean for an example here. If I was to point my BitAxe, my hash power of my BitAxe, towards Ocean Pool, this is how they do it. So you plug in your hash, and let's say that I have like 1/1000th of the hash power for Ocean. So every time Ocean hits a block, they pay out to everybody who is providing hash to their mining pool, which makes sense. Right? It's not preferred as like a miner because then you actually have to wait for Ocean to hit a block before you actually get paid by them. But that's how they do it. On the flip side of that, if you look at like an Ant Pool, if I plugged my hash rate into the Ant Pool mining pool, it doesn't matter if they hit a block. They have consistent payouts. Let's say every week they would send me a payment for 1/1000th of their hash divided by how much the average return would be over that. It makes sense. It's prorated based on how much you contribute. That's how much you get back, very simply. But there's two paths there. So one is based strictly on results, like the Ocean Pool. So if they go 6 months without hitting a block, you don't get paid at all. But then the other way, which a lot of people prefer, is you get a consistent payout. Even if F2 pool isn't hitting blocks, they still have enough Bitcoin on their treasury to make those payments to the people who are contributing hash or energy to their pool. So for Marathon to go out and put a whole bunch of Bitcoin on their treasury, obviously they're trying to get more people to connect to their mining pool. So they'll have much, and they can do the consistent payouts, regardless of whether they're hitting blocks or not, because that's the dangerous part about that is if you commit to paying all of your miners, your pool miners, every 2 weeks, and you don't hit any blocks during those 2 weeks, you have to have a backup there. You have to have Bitcoin on treasury in order to make those payments. And the reason why a lot of these pools have actually hooked up to Ant Pool now, an F2 pool, is because they didn't have enough in their treasury. So then they have to use Ant Pool and F2 pool as a proxy, essentially, to keep their operations going. So by Marathon putting Bitcoin on their treasury, it just strengthens their ability to continue operations without having to rely on the big boys. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So Marathon, they're raising debt to buy more Bitcoin. I think it's a very good strategy for that reason. Plus, they know what's going to happen in the next 12 months. And smart. We criticize Marathon a lot on the show, mostly because they're mining Caspa. That was the one for me that really turned me off of Marathon. But that's a smart play. We got to give credit where credit is due. All right, here's another. Speaking of mining, here's some more news. This is from Bitcoin News. Barefoot Mining ran a side-by-side comparison of ocean mining versus 3 well-known FPPS pools. So that's one of the ones that I was talking about. I think that's the fixed one, the FPPS. I'm just going to double check that so I don't give any bad info here. What does FPPS stand for? Check with my trusted Venice AI, my companion. Okay. So it stands for full pay per share, FPPS. Hold on, I'll bring this up. See if I can zoom in on this here. FPPS stands for full pay per share, a mining pool payment method. In FPPS, miners are paid both the block reward and the transaction fees based on their share of the work done to solve the block. This payment method aims to benefit miners from the high transaction fee by calculating a standard transaction fee within a certain period, adding it to the block reward, and then distributing to the whole amount to miners according to their hash power contributions in the pool. Let's do comparison of mining pools. What was the other one here that I paper share? Okay, I'm gonna have to do some more digging on this when I have time. Maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow in a little bit more depth. But I think that was a good way to kind of introduce it, I think, as a topic for people who are maybe unfamiliar with mining. But the news here, where was that? Now we're very zoomed in on everything. The news here is that it said that the comparison that Barefoot Mining did, which is Bob Burnett's company, they did a side-by-side controlled test environment with ocean mining versus 3 well-known FPPS pools. And it says the miners with ocean earned more. So you can see 60 days. Ocean is the dark blue one. So 60 days they were at the top, 90 days they were pretty much all even. And then over 120 days, the ocean pool was the highest earners. So that's really good news, I would say. There's Bob Burnett right there. I would say that that's great news. I think that if you're somebody who is running a BitAxe, and with the BitAxe, you have two options. You can just hook it up to a solo miner, which this one's running as, or you can do a pool miner, and you can hook it up to something like Ocean. And I think that Ocean is what most people prefer, because they go the other way. They're not hooked up to a proxy like F2 pool or ANT pool. And so the more hash rate we can point towards those ones and kind of decentralize everything further, the better. But with Ocean, like I said, there is more issues because it's all based on their actual results, not based on a fixed schedule. So there's just lots to keep in mind. There's lots to understand within the mining game. The one issue that I've had so far when I was trying to hook my hash rate from my second BitAxe up to Ocean Pool was that I was worried that because of the very small payments, I think they wait a very long time to do the payments if you're just doing it the regular way. Because with a BitAxe, like it would probably take me 2 years to actually get a small payment from them, just based on the amount of hash that I'm contributing to their pool. But you can actually set it up now with Lightning. So if you get a Bolt 12 address, I think it is, and you connect that, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. That's kind of next on my to-do list with the mining. But then you can actually get paid out in Lightning instead of, either waiting very long for a payout or having a whole bunch of small UTXOs that aren't really worth the transaction fee. So anyways, that's just some mining. I think that I'm sure a lot of people's head or eyes rolled back in their head there listening to that. But the more we can talk about it, the more information and the more knowledge we have, I think the better for everybody. All right, 41 minutes here. Woof. All right, let's check on the zaps. See what's going on there. Did I close it? I must have. Oh, no. I see Ahsoka over there in the zap.stream, and I see Plunger as well. Good morning, fellow Bitcoiners, fellow Earthlings. I used to watch Ahsoka says, I like the mining talk. Me too. I'm very fascinated with the whole mining, everything about it. It's just, there's so much to unpack there between the energy component, between the pools, between the solo mining, between the energy subsidy in terms of, hooking up a Bitcoin miner, replacing your furnace, using the heat from the miner to heat your house in the wintertime while being subsidized with some Bitcoin, some real money. So, and just these BitAxes are so cool. I know that there's a couple people who bought one yesterday and joined the chat that we have going. So if you are interested, I think the easiest way to kind of teach yourself and ease yourself into the Bitcoin mining is with a BitAxe. So they're like $150 US. They'll ship to Canada, the US, and Australia through the Bitcoin Journey site. We have a community now for Bitcoin Journey people in Signal chat for anybody who has a BitAxe. So if you're interested in picking one of those up, you can just use the link in the show notes. It says BitAxe. It takes you to a Bitcoin Journey store, and you can order a couple of them. I like the idea of oh no. All right, I'm just gonna shut the door. Can set our clocks to that fucking thing going off every morning. All right. Oh, Silver Fox. Look at this. We got a zap of 2.1 thousand sats over in Zap.stream for a better Tuesday. Thank you, my man. Thank you very much for that. I got to top up my balance here a little bit. This thing ain't cheap to run. Feels like I'm topping it up every day. Might be losing money. No, I'm just joking. All right. So let's, I saw a question here from Cold Deck. This is a really good question. Maybe this is how we'll end the first part of the show today. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. So the 8 things to do before 2025 is going to be on the zap.stream / Bitcoin Journeyman. Okay, so Cold Deck asks, what sets the VByte price? Very good question. And it is an organization called the VByte Bitcoin Blockchain Association. VBBA, they go by. Just joking. So look at this. We got 2 sats per V byte, the last block here. This is crazy times. 2 sats per V byte. So who sets the V byte price? Very simple. The market. It's the truest form of a free market that I've ever seen before, outside of like auctions and stuff like that. But it's the same kind of thing. You're basically bidding to get into the next block. So what happens here? This is good, I think, to talk about. So what happens every time you go to send a Bitcoin transaction on Bitcoin Layer 1, you pay a fee. You set your own fee. Some wallets do this for you, and they set a high priority fee just to make sure that you get in there. But with a lot of wallets, such as the Sparrow wallet, you get to set your own fee. So you go to the mempool, you say you see that the minimum fee, the last couple have been 3, 2, 5, and depending on how much of a rush you're in, you're going to set your fee based on that, how much your priority is. So if you have a high priority, you want the transaction to be picked up in the next block, then you set a higher fee. If you're in no sort of rush, maybe you're just consolidating some UTXOs, then you set a lower fee. And so when you send that transaction, when you broadcast it to the Bitcoin network, it goes over here. It goes in the mempool. This is what the mempool is. It's all the Bitcoin transactions that are waiting to be put into a block. And they actually sit there until the fee is high enough, until a miner says, okay, your fee is high enough. We're going to take your transaction. We're going to put it into a block, and that's going to be in the blockchain forever. So that's what you're paying for, the immutability to be put into a block. And because all of these blocks are scarce in terms of the size, so you see here, there's 5,300 transactions there. This one had 5,200 transactions, 5,400 transactions. So each one of these blocks only has so much space in it for transactions. And the more data you have within your transaction, the more UTXOs you have in your transaction, the higher fee you're going to pay because it takes up more space in that block. So what sets the V byte price is basically just strictly supply and demand. If you set a fee high enough that gets picked up by a miner, your transaction goes into the next block. If you don't pay enough fee, if there's a whole bunch of people in front of you that are wanting to pay more, then you're going to have to wait a while. I really like to think about the V bytes and getting into the next block, just like a nightclub. Back 10 years ago, we would go to the bar. Let's say it's, what's a big holiday for the bars? St. Patrick's Day. So it's St. Patrick's Day. We're in line at the bar. It's March here, so it's a little bit chilly. And so we want to get in sooner. We want to get into the club. And so we can take $100 bill. We go to the bouncers and we say, here's $100, let us in. So that's exactly what you're doing there. You're paying more to get in. If you want to get in faster, you have to pay. Or you can just sit there in line and wait for everybody else to get in. You don't have to pay anything, or in this case, a very low fee, but you're still going to get in, hopefully. And the other part too that's very similar here is that let's say that you sent a transaction, you set a very low fee. It could sit there for 2-3 weeks, and then it might get dropped from the mempool and put back into your wallet. And that's very similar to like waiting at the bar, where if you show up at 1 o'clock and there's a big line, you don't pay anything, you might not get into the bar. So it's the exact same supply demand. The market dynamic there is all based on who's going to pay the most to get in. So I hope that makes sense. Juan Lolito says, do you see a cycle where we don't see a bear market drop of 60 to 70? Yeah, I think that's going to be the new normal now, is we're not going to be dropping like we did before. The floor there, the foundation, because of all the ETFs and all this big institution money, I don't think we're going to see that. Unless like Coinbase got hacked and BlackRock lost all their Bitcoin, then we'd probably drop by like 90%. But, assuming there's no real major issues like that, but you have to expect it. Crypto Shrimp, good morning. Hope we're all having a great start to the week. Another day, another sat. And how was the golf tournament? Golf tournament last week it wasn't a golf tournament. It was just a lot of golf. we had to make up 2 matches for our league. So it was 36 holes of golf that day. James Bond's in the house too. All right. Was there anything else to cover here? Yes, one more thing, and then we're going to move to the next part of the show. I want to watch this video. It's of Peter Thiel, who has been historically kind of flipping back and forth on Bitcoin. But this is from 2017. Let me bring this up. It's from 2017. Peter Thiel. While I'm skeptical of most cryptocurrencies, I think most people are underestimating Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin price was 5,700 when this was recorded back in 2017. So let's listen to this, what he has to say, and then we'll talk about it. This is on Mornings with Maria. Oh, I don't even have it loaded up.
You know, the one other one that I've been looking at a lot more have been the cryptocurrencies, and while I'm skeptical of most of them, I do think people are a little bit are maybe underestimating Bitcoin specifically, because it's like a reserve form of money. It's like gold, and it's just a store of value. You don't actually need to use it to make payments. And it's been, there's about $70 billion worth of Bitcoin in the world. There's 9 trillion worth of gold, and if Bitcoin ends up being the cyber equivalent of gold, it has a great potential left. So it's a very different kind of thing from what people in Silicon Valley normally focus on. Companies, not algorithms or protocols. But this may be one exception that's very underestimated.
Well, people question it, and I know there's been so much debate about Bitcoin, but they question it because what is it based on? I mean, you see that the dollar is based on, the trust of the Treasury, the trust of the U.S. government. What is Bitcoin based on?
Well, the argument it's based on the security of the map, which tells you that it can never be diluted by a government. It can't be hacked, and it's a form of money that's absolutely that's secure in an absolute way. Of course, you could ask the same questions about gold. That's why I used the gold analogy. You would say, what is gold based on? Why is gold valuable?
Well, it's a tangible asset, though. Gold.
It's a tangible asset, but it's also hard to mine. So if it was easy to mine gold, then it wouldn't be that valuable because we would just have way more gold. So Bitcoin is also it's mineable like gold. It's hard to mine. It's actually harder to mine than gold, and so in that sense, it's more constrained. And so yeah, there are a number of things that I think make it somewhat similar to gold. And then the question is just, does this become more widely?
And it's anonymous, right? I mean, that's one of the beauties of it. You can be anonymous using Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's half anonymous, half not. So it's again this intermediate thing. There's a question whether that's right or not, but it's a bearer instrument. So if you have the Bitcoin, if you know the key, you can go anywhere. Most of the time, most securities are registered, not bearer security. So it's a very unusual kind of a security.
So a lot of things happening there. A lot of things that he talked about. This, keep in mind that was 7 years ago now. So he was quite a ways ahead of his time. We watched a video of him a couple weeks ago on the show saying that he wishes he would have bought more Bitcoin, but he's still kind of uncertain about it. I don't know his whole thing here, but that's not really the point. Forget the person here. Let's focus on what he's talking about. And the one thing that really stood out for me when I watched that interview or clip from 7 years ago was the anonymous part of it. And it got me thinking a little bit more. It got me thinking because we talk about no KYC versus KYC here a lot. And we obviously want to encourage people to get as much non-KYC Bitcoin as possible. And I think that there is going to be a need for that. I think there's going to be demand for it. And especially if you want to remain completely private, completely away from the system. But unfortunately, I think that for the most things and how this is going to all play out, I think that you're going to have to still have a certain stack of your Bitcoin. If you want to go to the bank and say, this is my Bitcoin, I want to take out some dollars. And then with those dollars, I think you can be very private with that, whether you're using cash, whether you're putting your Bitcoin instead of a bank, maybe there's Fedimints, and maybe you put up, 2 million sats into a Fedimint and you start it with your own community there, and that's held. And then you can use that to transact very privately. So you take Bitcoin off layer 1, put it into a Fedimint with, X amount of friends or people within your community, whatever that is. But then you get in exchange for that Bitcoin, you get a very private currency, which is eCash. And I think that a lot of Bitcoiners, they think that it's very, it's going to be transparent for the right people in terms of government, big companies, public companies, people who we need to be auditing. It's going to be transparent for them because that's what they're going to be using mostly is layer 1. But for people like us, we could just put a stack of Bitcoin or KYC Bitcoin into a Fedimint or into a bank, take money out of that, and that's what we can use to be much more private with it. So I just wanted to highlight that aspect. He talked about the gold too. We've kind of beat that one to death, I think, on this show. They are hard currencies. We've never had that before. 50 years, we've never had a hard currency before. And with gold, it was pretty good. The world was a much better place when we had gold as our standard, our reserve, and everything was backed by gold because it's hard to mine. If it was easy, like he said, it wouldn't have any value. You could just go out, and that's kind of the comparison now between Bitcoin and gold, is that if gold really shot up and there was a very high demand for gold, we could just go find more. There's so much gold in the world and beyond on Earth, but there's no more Bitcoin. Cannot create Bitcoin. You cannot go out into the mountains and hire 1 million people to look for Bitcoin. Not going to happen. You can get a whole bunch of miners to try to hit the next block, but that's only going to increase the demand. It's going to be more difficult to mine. It's going to bring in more competition, and there's still no guarantee. It's all based on luck. So you can increase your odds, but there's no certainty that you're going to find more Bitcoin. And that's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin. All right, what's happening over here on the Zap.stream? Akil, we got a couple zaps, and my Path to Fire zapped 121. Akil zapped 21 and 121. Thank you. Good to see you. We got quite a few viewers over in the Zap stream today, and probably more now. So here's what we're going to do. One more piece of news. Metaplanet bought 57 more Bitcoin, bringing their total to 303 Bitcoin now. And I don't love talking about Metaplanet, mostly because I don't think we can even buy it here in North America. So I don't spend too much time on them, but still exciting nonetheless. Dylan LeClaire is their head of Bitcoin strategy there. And it seems like they're doing a lot of great things over at Metaplanet in Japan. Okay. I think that's it. So what we're going to do here, the show was actually titled 8 Things to Do Before 2025. And I have a list of over 10 here. And they're very, not easy things, but quick things that you can do. And I think that if you do these, you're going to be a much better place in terms of your Bitcoin setup, your Bitcoin holdings, and just your overall preparedness for what's coming here. We have an election coming in 3 months or less. 2.5 months, I think. August, September, October. Yeah, 2.5 months. And I think the things are going to get pretty crazy. So I got a list of like 12 things here. I'm just going to zip through them. So if you're interested in hearing this, being part of it, joining the, what would you even call it? A scavenger hunt for the rest of the year. What do we got? 4.5 months left? Then join us. You can either go to zap.stream. You can watch it for free. That's a good option. Watch it for free. Go to zap.stream, find the stream there. If you feel like supporting the channel and you want to become a Bitcoin journeyman, you get free, not free, I guess, but full access to every show every day. I post a link in the channel. You can click that. You can watch every show ad free, and you can still participate in the chats. Or you can become, for a little bit more, if you want to be a little bit more involved, you can join as a Living in the Future, a visionary, which includes access to the community. So the community within Living the Future is so, I know I talk about this a lot, but it's so underappreciated for what's being built here. So we got the chat there, and within the chat, there's a whole bunch of different things that have come of it. There's a health and wellness chat. There's a chat about Linuxes. There's a chat about earning sats. There's the what else is there? There's a mining one. So if you're somebody who's new into Bitcoin, you want other people to talk to, if you want to share ideas, if you want to share resources, get help from somebody, if you want to dive further into a certain topic, there's going to be somebody within this community who's going down the same road and at the same part as you. So Bitcoin Journeyman, it's just for the full show every day. It's $3 a month, or you can go a little bit more. I think it's 5 or 8 to become a Living the Future member. But either way, so if you're a Bitcoin Journeyman, you just look at the channel every day. There's a feed. I post the link for the full show there every day. And the same thing for Living the Future. And if you have any questions, if you have any concerns with anything, you can just shoot me an email or a message on there. And one last thing too, which we just started last week, is we do a private Q&A every Wednesday. So that's going to be tomorrow. So we're going to do a private Q&A for the Journeyman and the Living in the Future community after tomorrow's show. So if you want to watch this, if you want to be part of it tomorrow, check things out. Kind of a no-brainer, honestly, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. Alpha Omega says they're working on lab-made gold. Yeah, they already have lab-made diamonds, which diamonds are more scarce than gold. So how scarce are they really? All right. So if you're interested, join us. One of those 3 options, we're going to talk about 12 things to do before the year ends here, before we say goodbye to 2024. So join us one of those ways, and we'll see you there. And if not, we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning for Hump Day. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. I appreciate it very much. Everybody who's here, being part of the show, and for the zaps over there, we're going to keep that going. All right. How do I shut this thing down? See you tomorrow. Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted to do. Holy man. There we go.